Good morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be answering all of your questions about owning a dog in Dubai. So the other day on my stories I put up a question box and I got some really good questions, things that I've never even been asked before. It was actually probably my most popular question box I've ever done on Instagram. So okay, let's get going. So I'm going to start with the first one, which is, hello, are most apartment buildings dog friendly or was it hard to find one that was? I live in downtown and I can only really answer for downtown because this is the only place I've experienced having a dog. It was absolutely no problem at all finding accommodation that allowed pets. There's a developer here called Emaar and I was told before moving out that all Emaar buildings in downtown are dog friendly, and I've never seen anything since being here to suggest that that statement is not true. I've always seen dogs coming in and going out of Emaar buildings. If you're thinking about relocating with your dog and you know roughly the area that you may be living in, then you can go on Property Finder, Dubizzle or Beirut, and they are all websites that have rental accommodation advertised, and then you can just use their filters to only show apartment buildings that are dog friendly. Next question is, I'd like to move with my dog but I'm cautious of the balcony, with a face. Honestly, I can relate to this so much. That was my biggest fear about bringing Bonnie out to Dubai, to be honest. She's never been on a balcony before in her life. Initially I thought I'm gonna have to get that really awful netting that covers the balcony just to be sure that she wouldn't jump off, but I kind of just took it step by step. For the first month I would never let her out on the balcony by herself. I'd always go with her and I was just keeping my eye on her 24/7 just to see what she did. I think a month was probably a bit overkill. I think by day 3 I knew that she was not going anywhere. She goes out onto the balcony, lazes around in the sun until she gets a bit too hot, and then she will knock on the door to let her back in, and that's really the end of it. But one thing, actually two things that I think really help with having a dog and a balcony. The first thing is that we have glass balconies. So glass balconies are good for 2 reasons in my opinion. The first one is that Bonnie is very nosy. She likes to see what's going on. I think if it was a concrete or a brick balcony or something like that, she wouldn't like it because she's just so nosy and she wants to see what's going on. And the other benefit to having a glass balcony is that there are no holes, you know, it's just completely glass the whole way around. And there are a lot of balconies out here that have the metal spindles, and the majority of the time the spindles are probably too close together for a dog to go through them. But I wonder whether if she had a sense of that air, she probably would try, maybe, I don't know. So personally for me, having a glass balcony was one of my top priorities when we were looking for an apartment. The other thing that I think has helped keep Bonnie not interested in jumping over the balcony, the fact that we're so high up. We are in one of the highest floors of our building, and because of that reason we don't really get any birds, and if we do it's very minimal. She used to be a bit of a bird chaser, so I think if I was on a lower floor and she was constantly seeing birds fly past, it would probably really distract her and she might go and chase after them. So glass balcony and high floor level are things that I think have kept her nice and safe. Next question is Dubai dog friendly? I would say yes and no. It's very different to the UK, but I guess we are used to lots of green fields, and usually if there's a green field then there is a dog friendly pub around. We're also really used to our family and friends having dogs, so it's also not a problem to bring your dog to someone else's house. And of course all of our beaches are dog friendly, and just the UK is just full of dogs and full of love for dogs. I would say that even in the short space of time that I've been living here, it is becoming more dog friendly. There are more restaurants and cafes that are opening that are dog friendly. There's also a lot of cafes opening that are only for dogs. So, I mean, anyone can go there. You could still go and get yourself a coffee, but the idea is that you do bring your dog with you, which is so cool. And also Dubai seems to be investing a lot of money into gated outdoor dog parks, which are secure and they're free for the public to use. So I feel like there is enough here to make you have a pleasant life with a dog here. And the reason I said it's not dog friendly is because there are a lot of people here that are scared of dogs, and they find it a bit weird that you have a dog just in your house and you walk it and you feed it and you keep it alive. I just try to be really aware of who is scared of her, and make sure that, you know, I'm not putting them in a situation where they feel terrified. But on the flip side of that, I've never once come across another cavapoo in Dubai. So I regularly get stopped when I'm walking Bonnie because people have never seen this type of dog before, and it kind of takes them aback a little bit. And then it's the complete opposite end of the spectrum where she is surrounded by people who want to take her photo. And I mean, I don't even know how many camera rolls she is in. Sometimes I'll go out and walk her and I won't get stopped at all. Sometimes I'll go out and walk her and I'll get stopped 20 times and people just want to play with her. A lot of kids really love her. I think because she looks quite like a teddy bear, people just always want to touch her. Just last week I took Bonnie to go and see the fountains, which is so funny. I've even just said that because she never watches the fountains. It's me watching the fountains. It's for me. And there was this one guy kind of hanging around, and then he was a bit reserved, and then he finally came over and said, "Oh, can I pet your dog?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." And then he was, "Oh, can I take a selfie with your dog?" And I said, "Yeah, no worries." And then all of his friends came over, so there's probably about 10 of them, and they all wanted photos with her. And then I think what happens is other groups of people will see that Bonnie is really friendly, and then another group will come over, and sometimes it's groups of people that are actually really nervous about dogs, but they kind of want to get over their fear. But the other night when that man approached us, it then attracted so many people that in the end we had to say, "Oh no, she's had enough photos." But I honestly thought I'd never leave the fountains if I kept saying yes to every single photo. So I'd say it is dog friendly, but people here are very hit and miss about whether they do or don't like dogs, and you've got to make sure that you're just always alert, because the last thing that we would want to happen is people are making complaints about dogs and then it makes it harder to have a dog here. So next question is, hey, what times do you walk your dog, and is there anywhere that you can't go? So it definitely depends on the weather. Bonnie first moved out here at the beginning of December, so from December to about February we could walk her in the morning up until about 10:30, 11 o'clock. But then what happens between the months of March and May, it's almost like the weather is preparing for summer. So you'll find that one week in March will be absolutely boiling, and then a couple of days later it will cool back down again, and then it will get hot again, it will cool back down, and it does this all the way up until the end of May, I believe, where it's then just hot all the time. So at the minute we are still just playing it by ear. Some days we have to get up and walk her at 5 AM because it will never be any less than 35 degrees. And then within the same week, we could be walking her at 9 AM and it's no problem. We take Bonnie up twice a day. The morning walks are definitely her shorter ones, and the evening walks are where we take her on her lovely long walk. But in the winter, it was actually the other way around. In terms of places that we can't go, not really, not day to day, there isn't places that we can't go. I mean, I can walk along any pavement and cross at any road crossing, that's fine. But just in general across Dubai, there are certain areas which will say that it's not a dog friendly community. So for example, the Marina walkway is not dog friendly, although I have heard that people do take their dogs there. I personally just wouldn't take Bonnie there because I would never want to get in trouble or risk having my dog taken from me. I mean, I don't know if it's that drastic, I don't know. There are a couple of beaches that are dog friendly, but for me personally, they are really far away and I'd have to have a car to be able to get to them. But your standard beaches like the JBR beach is not dog friendly. Also, another place that you can't take dogs is the standard RTA taxis. So if you need to get somewhere with your dog, you need to either drive yourself, have a friend that can drop you, or you can use taxis that are pet friendly. You can also use pet chauffeurs as well, where they will literally pick up your pet and then take your pet to the destination it needs to go to, and you don't always have to be in the car. I love this one. What are the most popular dog breeds you see on your walks? So definitely the most popular are desert dogs. A lot of them are mixed, but yeah, definitely desert dogs is number one. Second of all are big dogs like huskies, German shepherds and chow chows. There's lots of chow chows here, which is amazing. I love chow chows. Next up I would say is chihuahuas. There's lots of chihuahuas. And then the other breed that springs to mind is Maltese. So next one, can dogs be off the lead? So in short, no. If you're walking along the pavement, if you're in a community, they should always be on a leash. However, if you then go into a dog park, then yes, you can take your dog off the lead. So there's two different types of dog parks. So the first one is what I mentioned earlier. It's free to use, outdoors, and it's all secure. Within those parks are really cool obstacle courses for the dogs to use, and they are really good because dog parents go in there, let their dogs off the lead, and all the dogs just run around. Bonnie, however, doesn't like going there if it's just too busy because she spends the whole time getting humped. So we only go there when it's nice and quiet. So that's the first type of dog park. And then the second type of dog park is a day centre. That's a paid for service and you can take your dog there. It's very similar to what I just described, but they are indoor, they're fully air-conned, and it's basically like children's nursery but for dogs. People use them all year round. They're definitely more popular in the summer because obviously some people can't get out at all to walk their dogs during the hours that would be appropriate to do so. A lot of the bigger day centres also have swimming pools as well, both indoor and out. So yeah, really cool. There are also a couple of other little parks around which aren't dedicated dog parks, but the community have almost made it a dog park, if that makes sense. There are just some areas that you'll walk past and it doesn't say it's for dogs, but there are hundreds of dogs there. The next question is, hi, what food do you feed her, please? So we have always fed Bonnie a raw diet. We use a company called Fairchild and they sell a complete raw mix where it's got the correct meat, bone, offal content within it. So we've been using them ever since Bonnie arrived and it's been perfect. The meals arrive frozen. We buy about a month's worth at a time, pop them in our freezer, and then we just take out one meal every 2 days because one meal feeds Bonnie for 2 days. This one made me laugh. Dog poo and wee etiquette, please. Are dogs allowed to do it on pavements? So yeah, they are allowed to do it on pavements. I also had the same worry. I thought Dubai is so pretty and gleaming and sparkly. How can my dog just do a turd on the floor? But no, it's absolutely fine. You've obviously just got to take your poo bags with you, and I always take water with me. So if Bonnie was to ever wee on a random pavement, then I would always wash it down with water. The same person then asked, also, do you take your dog outside to wee or does she wee on the balcony? Haha. So Bonnie's routine is that she goes for a wee in the morning when I take her out for her first walk, and then she usually doesn't wee again until her evening walk. But if she ever wanted to go for a wee, she would just tap on the front door and that tells me to take her down. But she's only done that once since she's been here. So no, Bonnie doesn't wee on the balcony. I house trained her back in the UK where it was really easy. I had access to a garden 24/7. Luckily she brought that with her and knows that she just has to tap on the door and then I'll take her down. The next question is, what are the costs for jabs, insurance and grooming, please? So jabs, I will just get that because I've got it in a WhatsApp message. All vets charge different prices, but to have the standard vaccinations that are needed here, which is DHPPI and lepto, as well as rabies, is 278 dirhams inclusive of that. Then if your dog needs to have kennel cough, that is 100 dirhams excluding that. And then also at my vet they charge 65 dirhams for a pre-vaccination assessment. It's just a standard vet fee that they charge for like a consultation, I suppose. So that's the cost of the vaccinations. The insurance is a bit of an odd one. So pet insurance has never really existed in Dubai until very, very recently, and it's still in the early stages. So there's a lot of vets that don't accept insurance. There's lots of people here who don't pay for insurance. We don't pay for insurance. Well, I think when it becomes more accessible, then we will definitely get it then, because, you know, we had it back in the UK. I wouldn't have been without it. You know, I can't even believe I've got a dog with no pet insurance. It seems wild. And then grooming is just completely different whoever you ask and wherever you go to. There's so many options, so many companies doing it. So you can go to standalone grooming bars, drop your dog off, get a groom like you would in the UK. But because Adam and I are not driving at the minute, we use companies that will drive to us and they will do it on a grooming van. So it's a fully air-conned grooming van and they do everything that they need to within the van. But a lot of people book their dog in for their groom when they are at a day centre. We have paid 250 dirhams for a groom. We've also paid 200 dirhams for a groom, and we were also quoted 150 dirhams for a groom. And we were quoted last week 380 dirhams for a groom. So it really is all over the shop. You just have to shop around and go to someone that you feel confident in. The person who asked a couple of questions earlier has also asked, last questions, is there anything that we should be bringing out from home? Thank you. So to be honest with you, we didn't really bring out too much for Bonnie. We brought out her comb, her clippers, her toothbrush, toothpaste, just little bits and pieces that we knew that we would use whilst we were out here. We didn't bring out any dog poo bags or anything like that because we'd already researched and knew it'd be fine to just get them easily here. One thing we did bring up with us was our little doggy camera, but that actually doesn't work out here because we've got 5G internet and the webcam's a bit too old to support that, so we aren't able to use the dog camera, so we're just going to get another one. In terms of things that you might want to bring out with you, I prepared for this question. So some things that you might want to bring out with you. The first thing is this little harness, which we haven't even used on Bonnie yet, but this is something that we bought in the UK. It's in this reflective material, so she will just shine at night. But also the idea of it is that you soak it in cold water, you wring it out, and then you put it on your dog, and it's designed to reflect heat and to keep your dog's body temperature down. But as I said, we haven't used it yet, so I really can't comment on how good it is, but that was something that we did bring with us. I assume you probably can get it out here, but everything here is probably triple the price as it would be from home. Something we did buy whilst being out here is this really cute life jacket. We bought this for Bonnie just because we were going kayaking with her. So if you are someone who's planning on taking your dogs to the dog-friendly beaches or kayaking, that type of stuff, then maybe bring one of these with you, because like I said, it definitely will be more expensive here. Again, this is something you can get in the UK for cheaper. This is our water that we take out for Bonnie. So you pop your water in the cup and then you screw this little head on. It's basically got this button here which you push to let water in, and then your dog will drink from here. And then if they are done with drinking but you still have water left in this little pot, you can then use this little switch, and when you press this button, instead of water draining out, it drains back in. It's really good for zero water wastage, and it means that your water goes on longer whilst you're out on the walks. So I would really recommend this. The final thing I wanted to mention, oh hello, hello, it's not lunchtime yet, sorry babes. Final thing I wanted to mention is the Pro Fiber. Basically, again, this is something that you can get in Dubai, not a problem, but it's honestly 1/5 of the price in the UK. So Adam's parents kindly brought this out to us when they visited us last, but obviously this is only needed for dogs who need a bit more fiber in their diet. Okay, so next question. This was actually the first question that was sent, so I'm really sorry if this was your question and you've had to watch almost the entire video to get your question answered, but I left it towards the end because it's a biggie. So the question is, how much was it to get Bonnie sent out? Can you explain the whole process? I have a cat. So for your dog to even be considered on a flight to Dubai, your dog has to be vaccinated, and it has to be vaccinated against distemper, canine hepatitis, parvovirus, and leptospirosis, as well as having the rabies vaccination. And all of those diseases need to be vaccinated against within 364 days of flying. Your dog also needs to be microchipped, and they also need to have an external parasite treatment no earlier than 14 days before the date of travel. So for us, the first step was researching companies that would handle the whole end-to-end process of getting Bonnie from the UK to our front door, basically. You can definitely do this yourself. I honestly cannot advise you on that. The reason I didn't do it myself was because I'd read a couple of horror stories about dogs that got stuck somewhere along in transit because of a missing document. I just know what Bonnie's like, I know what I'm like. That's just way too much stress for both of us. I just wanted it to be as smooth sailing as absolutely possible. So I contacted 6 different companies and asked them all for an itemized quote. They then asked me to complete a survey, which is all about Bonnie. So her date of birth, her breed, her color. They also asked about behavior, vaccinations. They asked about where she'd be picked up from, where she would be dropped off to, all sorts of things. And then off the back of receiving those quotes, I then created a spreadsheet. I would then detail who the export agent is, so there's always got to be an export agent within the UK, and then I would also write who was the import agent, so who would be handling the collection of Bonnie on this side. Then I would also list out all of the things that were on the quote and how much it cost. And it was a really good exercise to do because it then definitely highlighted where there were differences and what people were quoting for. So on a couple of occasions I would go back to the companies that weren't quoting as much and ask, why certain things weren't on there, and they would respond and say, oh sorry, yes, we forgot that. I decided to rule out anyone who had forgotten something, because if I had contacted that one and only company, then I wouldn't have known that things were missing. So that was a red flag to me. But also what it did do was reconfirm that the other companies who were quoting everything, it reconfirmed that all of those things were genuinely needed. So that was my first step, and I'm really sorry this answer is going to be so long. After that, I whittled it down to my top 2, and then I went on a bit of a review hunt and found which company out of those 2 I was most confident in. I ended up going with a company called Pawson Pets, who are actually based in Dubai. They were very reassuring, they were quick to respond. Already I felt like I had built trust in them. All in all, to move Bonnie from the UK to Dubai, it cost us 10,745 AED, which is equivalent to around £2,300. I thought it'd be really useful to explain what was included within that amount. So I mentioned earlier that there is an export agent, which is the people that are based in the UK who handle all of the export for you. I never paid them directly. I paid Pawson Pets, who then pay the agent. So the export agent will be responsible for booking your dog's actual plane ticket. It's called an airway bill, and it also includes the airline handling charges, the airport security screening, and also the fuel surcharges as well. They were also responsible for getting a bespoke crate that would suit Bonnie's height and weight and size. You can provide your own crate, but it has to be approved. I can't remember what the term is now, but it has to be something approved. I'll write it on the screen. They were also responsible for the DEFRA export health certificate. They were also responsible for Bonnie having a fit to fly vet visit on the day of her traveling. Also, just to say on that, we were also in communication with the export agent. They would contact us directly, but keep Pawson Pets in the loop when deciding things like the fly date and the fly time. And then moving over to the import agents, which was Pawson Pets, I'm going to read out all of the things that were on our quote so that you know what your quote should have as well. The first thing is the import permit. No pets can come into Dubai without an import permit. The second thing that we were paying them to sort is the customs clearance fees and the VAT. Basically, there's a fee to clear pets through customs. If your dog is flying with Emirates, it's 450 AED, but if your dog is flying with any other airline, Bonnie flew with British Airways, and that fee was 775 AED, which is standard for all of the other airlines. Also on that, Bonnie had to fly with British Airways rather than Emirates, because Emirates have a list of banned dogs and Cavaliers are actually on their banned dog list. So because Bonnie is 50% Cavalier, she could not fly with Emirates. The third thing that we're paying them for is the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment veterinary inspection and release fees, which is completed on arrival of your dog coming into the UAE. So basically, as soon as Bonnie is cleared from customs, she is then taken to a vet who then checks her over and makes sure that she is safe to be released. The other thing that we are paying for is their support and advice on all of the export activities, the paperwork and all the treatments. They were the ones that were looking at all of our paperwork and making sure that everything was correct and was in order, to make sure that there was no issues along the way. The other thing that was on the quote was the actual attendance at the airport. There was no expectation for us to be at the airport. They would be there to collect Bonnie straight from the vet. They would give her a clean up, they gave her water, they took her for a small walk, and they let her, you know, go to the toilet as well. And then the final thing that we were paying them for was delivery. So delivery literally to our front door, which was amazing. By the way, if you haven't seen it, I've got a vlog out which shows the time that we were reunited with our lovely little Bonnie, and yeah, it just gives me so much happiness. So a couple of other bits. Thought I would share our timeline just to give you guys an idea of how quickly we got her out. I mentioned at the beginning that I contacted 6 different companies to get quotes. That was back in April 2021, and off the back of receiving those quotes, I had decided it was going to be Pawson Pets, but I didn't tell them that at the time. Then I moved out to Dubai in September 2021, and I just checked first of all that I would be happy to have Bonnie out here. And once I was happy with that, I went back to Pawson Pets and said, it's been a while since we've last spoken. I would really like to use your company to move Bonnie. Could you give me an updated quote? They then sent me a quote back almost immediately, and we were sussing a couple of things out whilst we were here and getting an apartment sorted. So we didn't end up going back to them until the beginning of November saying, okay, we're ready to go ahead. Is the quote still valid? And they said yes, it is. Did a bit of back and forth, just reconfirming details. On the 17th of November, I paid our first 50% instalment, and then during that time we'd already started to scope out that Bonnie would probably be coming within the next 2 weeks. So 5 days after I paid the 50%, I paid the remainder of the 50%. On the 30th of November, I received confirmation of Bonnie's flight date and time. That wasn't completely random. I kind of gave them a rough guideline of when I'd like them to book it for. And then on the 6th of December is the day that Bonnie actually flew, and because it was an evening flight, we didn't see her until the 7th of December. And then the last thing I want to share with you about moving Bonnie out is all about the day that she actually flew and also what she could bring with her. So the day that she flew, so I think it's very typical that someone comes to collect your dog from your door and will take them to the export agent. Bonnie at the time was living with Adam's parents, and they were really kind enough to actually drive Bonnie to the drop-off place. And I was so thankful for that, because even though I built up such a trust with Pawsome Pets, I still felt like if there was anything that was scary when they dropped Bonnie off, then it wasn't too late. You know, she didn't have to go on the flight. Also meant that they were in control and they could take her on a really lovely long walk literally just before dropping her off to the export agent. Bonnie's flight was at 20 to 9 in the evening, and they had dropped Bonnie off to the export agents by 2 p.m. that day, the latest. So when Bonnie got dropped off, she then had her vet visit to make sure that she was fit to fly. Then she hung out with the team in the office for a little bit, and they actually sent us a photo of her just snuggled up to a lady, which was the best thing to receive. And then she also spent some time in a secure exercise paddock just to make sure that she had gone to the toilet and that she was, you know, tiring herself out really, so that hopefully she would sleep on the flight. And then when the time came, they took her to the airport and she got checked in and they said farewell. And then in terms of what she had to have packed with her, she needed to have a blanket or a bed to go into the crate with a familiar smell so that she would feel more at home. The second thing is that you could take one toy with you, but it had to be taped to the outside of the crate, and that purpose is that you can then give your dog the toy as soon as they arrive. The third thing is that the harness and the lead also gets attached to the outside of the crate as well, so they're not wearing any of that whilst they're in the crate. The fourth thing is that you had to pack a small takeaway lunch to also attach to the outside of the crate, and that is for the vet who is in Dubai to give to your dog if they feel that your dog needs it. And also, if anyone wondering, Bonnie was to be fed and watered like any other day on the day of travel. She didn't have to stop drinking or eating at all, because there was plenty of time for her to go to the toilet whilst she was with the export agent. Sorry, I've just had to change the battery again because I ran out once more. I really wasn't expecting this video to be this long, but I'm just so passionate about anything to do with dogs and Dubai. I'm just looking through the questions now, and I think I've answered everything. My mum sent one that just says, love Bonnie. There's a couple of people in here who are saying that they're moving out over the next couple of months. There's 2 people actually I know that are moving out in September, and one of them has a cavapoo, which is so exciting. So I believe I've answered all of your questions, but of course if you've got any other questions, then just drop me a message or comment below and I will definitely answer them. Also, just to say, which maybe I should have said at the very beginning, this is just my experience and this is my research, and of course things can change overnight, so this is what the current situation is. As far as I know, these rules and regulations have been in place for quite some time, so hopefully, fingers crossed, this information is not going to be out of date too soon. So yes, I hope this video has been really helpful, and I'll get back to filming my usual vlogs for this channel. If you are new here, then feel free to check out my other videos. There's lots of fluffy dog content in my videos because I literally spend my life with my dog, so I'm assuming that's your kind of thing if you've made it all the way through this video. So yeah, anyway, have a fabulous day or night wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you in my next video.